My name is Monica Wilkinson Kelly. I'm the archivist at the Edith B. Ford Memorial Library in Ovid, New York. This interview is being conducted as part of the Cayuga and Seneca Lakes Agriculture and Craft Beverage Memory Project. Today is March 25th, 2021, and I am interviewing Tina and Eric Hazlitt of Sawmill Creek Vineyards. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thank you for participating in our program. So I have, if you could just please state your name
My name is Eric Hazlitt.
and
Tina Hazlitt.
can you tell me the name of your company or vineyard?
Sawmill Creek Vineyards,
And where are you located?
Hector, New York,
On the east side.
on the east side of Seneca Lake.
East side of Seneca Lake. And can you just tell me each, I'll let Eric go first, your backgrounds, where you're from, where you were born and raised?
Well, I was born in Montour Falls, which is about 11 miles south of here, and grew up on the farm pretty much, and went to school at Cobleskill for agricultural engineering, and when I was done with that, I came back to the farm and partnered up with my dad, and we planted more grapes on the family farm, and here it is 40 years later.
Okay. And Tina, can you tell me about yourself a little?
Yes, Tina Hazlitt. I was born in Elmira, New York. I was raised in Canandaigua, New York. Spent my summers on Cayuga Lake, and now I live on Seneca Lake, so I'm a Finger Lakes girl. My degree is bank management. I spent time out west as a bank manager for a business bank in Las Vegas, Nevada, before moving back to the Finger Lakes and running into Eric and falling in love. And and I thought, when I decided to change careers, I thought, what do I like besides money, being in banking? And I thought, I really like wine. So I got involved in the wine industry, and that's how we met.
Oh,
So.
okay. Great. So you have been farming for many generations, correct, Eric? Can you tell me a little about your family farm? It's 1853, I believe, was...
1852 was
Oh,
when
52, I'm sorry.
started, so a few grandparents, they actually moved into the house next door, or the big farm next door to us, and planted mostly peaches, and then we came over to this house a generation later, sold that place and bought this place, and so my family's been here in this where we're sitting ever since. I think I'm the 5th generation to live in this house.
And you're the 6th generation fruit grower,
to be
correct?
on the farm, yeah.
On the farm.
Yeah.
And so how many acres do you currently have?
Well, in production right now, we're at 70, I guess. We've been as high as 100 back a few decades ago, but we've kind of streamlined our crops and changed varieties around a little bit to what works best and makes us the most profit. Originally, this farm was all native varieties, Concords and Catawbas and Delawares, that sort of thing, but back in the 80s, we started switching everything over to vinifera, and right now we're 90% vinifera and 10% French hybrid.
So before that, were you growing for other, large wine companies, like many of the growers were in this area?
Back in the early days, all of our fruit pretty much went to one place. Everything went to Taylor Wine Company or Great Western,
Right.
that sort of thing. So
Okay.
back when we switched to vinifera after Coca-Cola took over Taylor, and that kind of was the end of our native business. So we switched gears, and now we sell to all the small wineries pretty much in this area.
Yeah, the Farm Winery Act really helped,
Yeah,
to get out of
that
that
kind of
slump
changed everything.
when they stopped buying grapes from other vineyards.
Eric's dad was one of the first to bite the bullet and rip out the natives and plant vinifera and take the chance because Dr. Frank was working on it, but really hadn't been proven yet how well vinifera would do here. Really, you said you first went in the 70s, like the Chardonnay that was down here.
Late 70s. I was still in high school when we started planting Riesling and Chardonnay.
Right.
And we were some of the first people on this side of Seneca Lake to do that.
Right.
Yeah, there was one farm. Yeah, I can't come up with who was.
The Gold Seal.
Yeah, the Gold Seal farm. It was
Yeah, that name's on the tip of my brain too.
who the grower was, but
Yeah.
so there was just a little bit of vinifera back then, and then
Right.
in the 80s we just started taking more Concords out and planting more Riesling Chardonnay in the oh, I've got it. In the 80s we planted mostly Cabernet, Cab Franc, Cab Sauv.
Which is really very new. I mean,
Yeah.
Finger
It really
Lakes,
was.
people really thought of the Finger Lakes as Riesling and
Yes.
primarily Riesling. So, planting those vines were very experimental. And can you tell me a little about your dad? He went to Cornell, correct?
He went to Cornell as his dad did,
Okay.
and
And he's
he had the passion and the vision to see what was coming, and so he was the mastermind behind all of that. I was there to do all the grunt work, and we always tease him because he says I planted this and I planted that, and I said, well, geez, there was a whole crew there doing the actual work. So, anyways, we did that. He did a lot of traveling in the 80s and 90s, and he'd go to Spain and he'd find a variety he liked, and he'd come back and we'd have to plant an acre of that and see how it went over, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
right. Now,
So-
did I read something about him experimenting with different trellises?
Well, that was always, we always worked with Cornell and Cooperative Extension, and they were always coming up with new ways to do things. And back in the early days, there was 3 wires, and you tied your vines up to the 3 wires and let them go.
And then Shawless, was that?
And then Nelson Shawless was one of the guys that came up with a new trellising system where you tried to VSP, vertical shoot position. So you train all the canes to grow straight up, and that gives you more sunlight, and things just tend to grow with more vigor that way, and you're able to get your spray material in and sunlight in and all that. It's just a neater, better situation.
But better production of fruit too.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
easier
key.
to harvest,
Right.
that sort of thing. So
Now, and your dad is James, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
and he was one of the first guys to start with the mechanics to go back another decade in the late 60s. We bought one of the first grape picker mechanical harvesting machines to have in the Finger Lakes. So we had our own business. We'd pick 5 different farms all the way around the lake. We did that for about 35 years, I guess. We had that business, Lakeview Harvesters. And,
now, did you have to replant a lot of the rows because the
everything was pretty much
harvesters
set up for that.
had to
so
be.
It's
okay.
just a big tractor that straddles the rows, so that worked out really well. In the 60s, everything before that, everything was picked by hand and into smaller boxes or bushel baskets and trucked that way. So the harvester was a huge step forward, and we still do half of our harvesting that way.
Okay.
But that was one of the businesses my dad started, along with his brother, and then we had a partner that lived on the other side of the lake.
Okay. And
So that was
his brother.
one of the other cool things that my dad was heavily involved in right in the beginning.
And so you don't produce, or you're not winemakers. You sell to other very
Correct.
important wineries in the area. Can you name a few of the wineries that will buy your grapes?
Sure. Yeah. We have some customers have been with us for decades and decades, like Swedish Hill, Actually, it's not just Finger Lakes. We do sell outside of the area.
Okay.
Millbrook Winery down in the Hudson Valley has been buying from Jim and Eric for 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
But more and more in the recent, I'd say last 15 years anyway, more smaller boutique wineries are popping up that don't grow their own grapes. And they're looking for growers like us. And so we do sell, I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone, uh, to several of the newer players in the area, which is great because they let us focus on what Eric and his son Jason does the best, which is grow the fruit, and we sell it to these guys. So like Billsboro Winery on the other side of the lake, Barnstormer, J.R. Dill, these guys, Hector Wine Company. It's a winery our son started in 2010 with his business partner Justin Boyette, and 90% of the wines over there is the fruit from the family farm. So it's nice to see us supporting more and more of the smaller boutique wineries instead of the big ones.
And everyone has said the same thing. Great wine starts in the vineyard.
Yeah.
So the fruit that you're growing is where it all starts. If you have,
Yeah.
so can you tell me a little bit about the soil types? Like what makes it unique here on the farm? Is there a particular
Well, this farm
microclimate?
has a lot of gravelly soils on, which are well drained. We also have the Finger Lakes were formed by glaciers going through, and there's a lot of shale. There's some spots on the farm where the topsoil is only maybe 6 inches deep, and then you hit shale, so it makes for a little bit of a tough go for some of the vines. We have a bit of a diversity of soil types, but mostly it's gravel.
And the
And
15 to 25% slopes on the home farm for airflow, air
Yeah.
drainage helps.
Yeah, it's very steep. The whole farm is quite a challenge to work with tractors and that sort of thing, just because of the steepness of
Very
it.
steep, but then drainage would probably be very good, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, everything runs downhill. We've done a lot of work with diversion ditches and to control our runoff and
Drainage
that's
tiles.
drain tile and to try to prevent erosion. I remember when I was young, a lot of places that were washed out in the vineyards, and the crews back then would disc every row, and everything was just dirt, no weeds or anything. And we let the grass grow and plant cover crops and that sort of thing to hold everything in place.
So I know it's probably, you have a list there because I'm sure it's complicated. How many acres? What's the greatest number of grapes that you do grow and the amount of acres of that particular?
Well, Tina's the
Tina's the,
statistician.
I'm the spreadsheet queen.
I was going to say,
A lot of our varieties we have like around 8 acres of.
Yeah,
We
that's
try not to
true.
overplant all of one variety, and that can.
Right now, the most we have is Riesling, of course. It's the Finger Lakes. And so, yeah, I would say that followed by Chardonnay and then our Cabernets, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc. Um, we have people begging for two varieties that we grow. We were the first to grow, and we just don't grow enough. Syrah is one. And Billsboro Winery a few years ago won the Governor's Cup for the best wine in all of New York State with our Syrah.
oh, great.
So that was pretty exciting for us. Um, and the other variety is Sauvignon Blanc. And these are both varieties that Jim came back from a trip and said, I want to grow this. I like drinking that wine, So that they're the other unique one we have is Albarino, and that was the time your dad went to Spain.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones in the Finger Lakes growing Albarino. And that's still a fairly young, right? I think it's been in the ground 8 or 9 years now.
Yeah.
It all goes to Billsboro Winery. They make a beautiful wine from it. If you haven't had it, you should definitely get some. Delicious with summer seafood, anything like that. So, yeah, we have 16 varieties now. We've removed probably 3 or 4 varieties in the last 5 or 6 years. So, yeah.
One of the issues that we have is that we planted all these varieties back in the 80s and 90s. Now our vineyards are 35 years old, and trying to determine what to plant, what's going to happen 5 or 6
Right.
years down the road is a real
Trends, keeping up with
challenge.
trends is
Yeah.
probably,
So we've taken out some varieties that are hybrids up on the Tichenor Road. Have been going up and down like crazy. We don't. One year we sell them all, next year no one wants any, and so we've eliminated. Save All was the one that I guess we eliminated all together, and we have Vidal and Cayuga White that are hot one year and not the next. You just don't know.
well, I read in 1852, David, who would be your great-grandfather?
Oh, about 5 grapes back.
Five,
Yeah.
oh,
Or
okay.
four maybe.
Bought a 154-acre fruit farm, and then it was added to. So
Yeah,
the
and that was
grapes went
this area over here that we
Okay.
can see to our south.
So the grapes went in the 1860s. So that was
A lot of them. Of
very
course, there
early.
isn't any of those left. Those vineyards are all gone and replaced. But
Yeah.
yeah, he started growing grapes and at that point, and that was table grapes. That was mostly just shipped to New York City by rail and things like that back then. I'm not really sure what year the actual wine grape part of the
When-
farm started.
Okay. So can you talk about a little? What is the day like? You don't really get a lot of time off. I'm guessing.
No, it's pretty much a cycle that lasts the whole year.
Right.
And right now, in the springtime, we're trying to wrap up the pruning. And then you get nice days like this, and you do the other. We have to also repair all the posts and wires and all the stuff that we broke during harvest and that sort of thing. So once the vines are pruned,
It stayed pretty cold this year. Did you have a lot of like early bud growth or loss?
it was not cold this winter. We had one day that
Okay.
it was 1 below zero one morning, and that was it. It was pretty much a really warm winter for us. So even though it seemed like it was a lot of cold days, it's
Right.
it's when it really dips down below zero that kills the buds. So
But
we're
that
in pretty
didn't
good
happen.
shape this year. Now we get to worry about a spring frost. That's the next
yeah.
thing is the
And what about flooding? We had, was it 2018?
yeah that
Did you have any loss?
it
with
really
that?
didn't hurt the vineyards. Our grapes all rotted because
Right.
they all split and cracked from all the rain.
Yeah, I'd say
But
we had
it really
almost
did a
a
number on-
50% loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
it ruined all of our roads and headlands and everything else. That was the main issue there. But and the crop was really ugly. But we able to bounce back from that.
Right. I had other people have said that the flooding was one thing, but then it continued to rain
Yeah.
that year,
It never
and so then
stopped.
it
Oh
got
yeah, the whole harvest
Yeah.
was just wet.
wet and
Yeah.
and hail is another. What would you consider the greatest natural threat for the vineyard?
Well, the real cold temperatures in the winter can be really devastating, and yeah, hail is definitely. You get July and August, you get a thunderstorm comes through with a bunch of hail in it, and it can really be a problem.
Just from out of the blue,
yeah,
everything can be.
yeah, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
So, Tina, you are involved in a number of organizations,
I am.
correct?
Yes, I
Can
am.
I ask you a little about, or tell me
Sure.
about your
Tina likes to go to
directorship?
meetings.
I don't know about that, but I'm just a big believer. Once I got invested, honestly, I'm so invested in this family and this family farm, and my heart is just did that again. All in. I just, the generations and wanting to protect the future of our industry and of our farm. Protect the future of our farm. And so, yes, I advocate. I lobby. I want to do whatever I can. And I did get involved with the New York Wine Industry Association. So, a while back, I was very involved in Farm Bureau. But I felt like I wanted to narrow my focus, and I'm still a member of Farm Bureau, but I wanted to narrow my focus to be specific with the wine and grape industry. And so a group of us formed the New York Wine Industry Association. It's been around 10 years now or so, right? Maybe it's been longer. And our mission is to build relationships with our state legislators, to stay informed, to keep them informed, educate them about our industry, educate consumers. It's important for consumers to have a voice in Albany. Um, so yeah, it's a passion of mine. I'm a big believer in having a voice, and you can whatever. Eric's brilliant in the vineyard, and keeping his what's the word the saying, the best thing you can apply to your vineyard or your own 2 feet. So
Yes.
he stays planted in the vineyard, and I try to stay planted at what's happening outside.
And there's also, was a woman in the wine industry? There's another organization I believe I read here.
Um,
Women for New York State Wine.
yeah, that was brief though. Yeah, I'm not really involved with them anymore. Because like I said, I got more into advocating and lobbying. The other board I'm on is the Finger Lakes Grape Program Advisory Board. So that's part of Cornell. It's part of Cornell Cooperative Extension, and it's gosh, they're brilliant. Right, what would we do without Cornell and the Finger Lakes Grape Program? So I'm on the advisory board for that, and working on research projects, working on, if we see something odd happening in the vineyard, and like the flood of 2018. Eric and Jason are coming in saying, this is strange, we're seeing something we've never seen before, and Eric would know, and so I immediately get on the phone and call experts at Cornell, and they're on the farm like this. I mean, we're so blessed to be
Right
here
by the
in the
Geneva
Finger Lakes, because
yeah.
yes, we have
Agritech.
access to brilliant people, and they're always helpful, always available. Yeah.
So what is it like? Have you seen, since you've been in the industry, a big change of women in the industry? And do you see more and more female winemakers and vineyard managers?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah, definitely. A lot more interest. Finger Lakes Community College put together that program, that wine and viticulture program, degree program, which has been great. It gets more people involved. And I so far I have not seen a lot of them staying in the Finger Lakes, which I find interesting.
Okay.
And I also see a lot of people graduate from that program that all dream of being winemakers. No one graduates from that program and decides they want to grow grapes. It's really interesting to me, but hopefully that'll change. And hopefully one of our grandsons will be interested, right, someday.
So how is COVID? I mean, you're not winemakers, so you haven't had the tasting room, but you still have a large vineyard staff. How has COVID impacted
So
you?
last year, I found really interesting because I manage all the sales. What we sell to every winery that requests fruit from us. It was really interesting the different reactions that our wineries had to the pandemic. And I had a couple of wineries completely canceled all their grape orders last year. Just said, nope, we can't buy a thing. Our tasting room's closed. Nothing we can do. And then I had other wineries that just got proactive, and they started virtual tastings and online programs, and they all upped their grape orders. So I was nervous I wasn't going to be able to sell the whole crop last fall, but I didn't have a problem selling it. So, and our work.
Shipping too. A few people have said that they may not go back to the old way.
Yes.
The limited tastings and
all the winery owners
crowds.
I deal with, through the New York Wine Industry Association board, and all the wineries I talk to constantly on the phone, they've all said that they don't miss the buses and the limousines. They love the opportunity to sit and talk to their customers,
right.
And
more intimate, smaller groups.
Yes.
And so,
as far as our farm crew and that sort of thing goes, things didn't change all that much.
Nothing changed for us.
We had different. We gathered, had our morning meetings and stuff like that out in the farm shop instead of in our break room, so we could stay apart from each other. But the work went on as normal, and there wasn't a whole lot of things that we did differently.
And how many people do you employ, year-round versus seasonal?
We have 5 right now, right?
Well, and then you and I, so 7.
Yeah.
7 year round. And then seasonal varies. Like right now we have 5, they're here helping us to tie vines, and they'll help through some canopy management. In the fall, when harvest starts, we'll have more come in because hand picking is so intense. We wish we could machine pick everything, but we custom harvest based on what the winemaker wants. Well, two things: based on what the winemaker wants, and based on the site on our farm. We have a couple of places we can't machine pick. There's no way you could get the machine in there; it's so steep. So it has to be hand harvested, and so that's where you really need skilled pickers to do that, because otherwise, if it takes too long to pick, then it gets to the winemaker too late. You know what I mean? It's been sitting in the sun. The fruit's not as, you know, as perfect as you want it to be when you deliver it to the winery. So
Something you really have to love. You have to be outdoors. You have to love the cold and deal with it, right? Eric, it's would you change
It's nice.
anything in
Well,
your
it's
life?
the
Was there anything
people
different?
that have passion to grow grapes are there isn't that many of them, and my dad had it, and I've known a few people that are really passionate about growing grapes, but it's hard work. It's farming, and you're standing out there in the cold, and you have to be able to see the bright side of things and look up and enjoy the lake. We're looking at the lake the whole time we're on the farm, so that makes it nice. But right now we're at the end of pruning season, which lasts from basically the beginning of Thanksgiving all the way until right now, and you're standing out there giving each grapevine a haircut, and
What time
it's
do you get out in the field?
well, we start at 7:30 in the morning, and
7:30.
basically done at 4:30. So yeah, it's cold, and
And during the winter, I saw you have a big heating machine. Did I see on your Facebook page some sort of
oh,
something?
well, that was an experiment that we were excited about. That puts heat into the fruit zone, and
it's not for
supposedly,
winter; it's for summer.
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's to kill
Mildew or
mildew and that
prevent.
sort
Oh,
of
okay.
thing. Yeah,
Insects.
and that was an experiment that we were all in for, because we thought we'd be able to reduce our fungicide use if that actually worked, but it was pretty much a flop. so
Oh, it's always an
so we
experiment.
really tried. A lot of the problem with it was our terrain just isn't conducive to. You had to fit really close parameters with a machine to make it actually do what it was supposed to do, and our steep side hills and rough terrain really made it. We just couldn't make it work correctly. So
We're always interested in trying new things, like anything that, again, to reduce our chemical use, to help. We focus on sustainability, sustainable farming, anything that helps that, and so we're big believers in working with Cornell again. We let them come do different experiments in different parts of our farm. We're working with several different professors and their students to help our industry forward
Right.
and find new ways. The other new thing we did the year we got the thermal machine
Yeah, I
was
couldn't remember the name of it. I saw.
yeah,
yeah, it's
is
called
bird
agrothermal.
lasers to help keep the birds
Oh, right.
out of the vineyard and out of the cherry orchard, because we also grow cherries. And yeah, we jumped in with that, and that's been great success. And we'll talk to anybody who wants to talk to us about it. I tell all the other growers that we know, like, this worked for us, it's a success, feel free to invest in this.
Well, I think that's what's really amazing, that there's so much cooperation in this area between the growers and even the winemakers, and loaning out machines if need be, or advice. And so that seems to be very unique.
Yeah, for the most part, we all try to help each other out.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
And so you are the sixth generation, correct?
yeah.
And so can you tell me a little about the next generation? That I know there's.
Well, I have two kids,
Okay.
Aaron and Jason. They're not kids; they're both in their 30s. You met them over there at the farm, and my son's been in the vineyards for he on and off since high school, but he joined the team in 2015, I guess, and So he's working his way up now. He's trying to juggle owning half of the winery across the road and working in the vineyards. So he's got his hands full, and he has a new son also. So anyways, he's doing a really great job. He runs the crew for us, and is a real hard worker, and has the passion, and so that's all good. My daughter just joined us a couple of years ago. She went out and did a few other things, but she seems to be pretty passionate also, which is a huge shock to
Great.
most everyone in the family. But she's coming along nicely, and I think they're going to make a pretty good team, which is all that any parent could ask for,
That's
or
right.
farmer could. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
So I'll ask each of you this. Starting with Tina, what do you see as your greatest achievement in the industry?
Again, probably my advocacy, and just I was part of the battle to keep the gas storage from under Seneca Lake. I saw that as a real threat to the future of the family farm. So yeah, my focus is this family, the love of this family, the love of this land, the love of this lake, and yeah, anything I can do to help protect it.
Okay, Eric, same question.
Well, I guess I haven't done anything all that wonderful other than keep things running and
Growing and maintaining
growing,
the
and
vineyard.
trying to carry on my father's legacy. He was way more adventurous than I am, and he wasn't afraid to take chances. And Tina and I have tried to run the farm in the black, and he tended to like to be in the red and taking chances and that sort of thing. So we've turned that situation around a little bit, and we're trying to keep things running smoothly and sustainably, and maybe be able to retire instead of having to work till we're 80 years old like he did.
What would you tell anybody interested in this career?
Well, you'd have to have the the passion to be outside, I guess, is the main thing, and be outside all year round. Either that or be wealthy when you come in and be able to hire everything done.
Would you do anything else in life?
And this has been, for me it was kind of the path of least resistance, but I also really love the lifestyle, and we live on the farm, and you can't beat that.
No,
Being right next to this beautiful lake every day, and the vineyards and all that. So.
And he's an avid boater and sailor, so
Yeah.
the fact that you can put down your tools and go, or park the tractor and
Yeah.
jump in a sailboat at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we
You
enjoy
can't
our
beat that.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you grow some of the best fruit in the area, so that's a great
Well,
contribution
we're
too.
trying
So
to
many
try to keep our quality up, and it's hard work. It's hard
hard work.
to worry about the weather and worry about everything all year round, and
Do you worry about the climate
Sure.
changing?
oh yeah.
We
it's,
both attended a webinar yesterday about climate change, and the future of sustainable farming in the Finger Lakes. Well, it's focused on New York State, I guess, but yeah, anything we can do to pay attention and learn and hope for a future for the family, I'm sorry.
Well, I thank you. Is there anything else either one of you would like to add in closing?
What was it you said when someone asked you to respond to the vision? Everyone thinks it's just so romantic to grow grapes.
Yeah, we got interviewed for edible Finger Lakes,
Yeah.
and that was one of the questions was.
What's
Name something
romantic?
romantic about working on the farm. So it's a farm. There really isn't anything romantic about it. If you stand and watch the sunset in the middle of the vineyards,
I guess that's romantic.
that's romantic, I
The
guess.
sunsets on Seneca, you really can't beat a sunset over
can't.
Seneca
Yeah,
Lake.
absolutely.
It's just breathtaking.
Yeah, but
So
the people that think it's romantic are, again, the people that
are drinking the wine.
Yeah.
yeah. So
All right, well,
Yeah.
I thank you very much for participating in this oral history project. It's your family, after so many generations, are so important to grape growing, fruit growing in this area. And I thank you for your time. And again, this is Tina and Eric Hazlitt, and I'm Monica Wilkinson Kelly. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.